Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to Gargoyles Episode Reviews. Today we're looking at Avalon Part 3. 3 hours remain before the sun rises and the day of vengeance begins for the Archmage. Goliath, Angela, and Gabe set off to face the Archmage, while Elisa and Magus venture into the Hollow Hill in search of the Sleeping King. The protagonists are up against some stiff competition from the villains, but will a new player in the game turn the tide? Hint, his best friend was Merlin. This is no time for our villains to get complacent, though, even if it seems they've won the day. You're going to want to read or listen to the other couple eps, or this will make no sense. Spoilers in the 2020 moments, info from Ask Greg is in the According to Greg Bits. Season 2, Episode 23, Avalon Part 3. Reason for existence: to move on to Tier 4 of the series, to throw the characters together so we can wrap up this triptych, to show the fatal flaw of seeking revenge, to get to Goliath, the Eye, and Gate, to eliminate the Grimorum, to move Macbeth and Damona's story along, to learn more about Avalon, to start King Arthur's story, to finish Magus' story for the time being, to start the world tour. Main antagonist: the Archmage, Weird Sisters, Macbeth, and Damona. Times? I don't know. Locations? Avalon. Avalon Part 3, and there's the opening scene is the castle. And it's night, and there is again a full moon, because apparently there's always a full moon on Avalon. Goliath, Angela, and Gabe set off to get the Eye of Odin and Phoenix Gate from the Archmage. No problem. It's not like he has the Grimorum in his mind, so he can use all of it with a thought. Oh wait, yeah, he does. This is why I always hated fighting magic users in D&D. That's also why I had long shot and sat in town a mile away and sniped with my high-powered bow. According to Greg, Gabe's parents are Desdemona and Othello. Yep. I'm glad we can see the character resemblance here. And Goliath will be a distraction, while the kids get the artifacts. No heroics, Goliath orders. Yep, we'll leave that to you. Meanwhile, Magus and Elisa are going to wake the Sleeping King, who will sleep, quote, until his country needs him, unquote. Magus steps in, taking Tom's place on the mission. And, yeah, so I guess Tom was supposed to go there. Is there ever a time when Britain does not need his help? Like, honestly. Like, how about World War II? Or World War I? Or now? Anyhow, newcomers barging in with their fancy king-waking ways. There's Elisa, trying to convince them to awaken a king who has been on the island, even longer than they have, apparently. I'd like the story of how he got on the island in the first place. I know that actually Greg was going to do a spin-off with Arthur, and maybe that would have given us some more backstory. Because I think it would have been really fascinating, and it also would have included the Fae, which is always a highlight for me. Warning: since the party splits up, we're going to be jumping around a lot. So not surprisingly, Damona and Macbeth corner Angela and Gabe. Say what again? I dare you. They've got their guns out. It so looks like that scene. And there's Goliath grabbing the laser rifle from Damona. And you can see that their eyes are white. Goliath rescues them by appealing to the antagonist's better natures, pointing out that they're part of our clan to Damona and reminding Macbeth of his honor. This actually wakes them up, banishing the white glaze from their eyes. The cataracts is a nice way of showing when they're under the Archmage's control. What's that? Yes, we find out in a moment that they follow his orders. Here Macbeth looks like a lot like the Macbeth of the 11th century. Like slightly younger. It's so strange to see these epic antagonists, Mac and Damona, under the control of another villain. On their own, they're extremely dangerous because not only are they excellent fighters, they're also cunning. But teaming up and magically dominated, they sink to a level of henchmen whose purpose is to shoot things. Alright, now this is the point where I wonder, so he did all that effort, all that scheming, to get these people here to the island now. I'm pretty sure he could have paid people to do this. Yeah, they're immortal, but we have that little thing called shared pain, which kind of makes them not so great as a strike force when they're near each other, which they will be here. So I really think he could have done better, maybe made some magical henchmen, or just, like I say, paid off people. He could have just plucked various people throughout time. That would have been interesting. I think there was actually a manga by that, with that plot that I can't remember the name of, but Kota Hirano made it. The same guy who created Hellsing. So you can look into that. Moving on. The Archmage appears and reinstates control over Mac and D. But he's not going to kill Goliath yet. Nope. Wait for it. Wait for it. He has plans for him. Look, if you want to win, those plans need to include offing Goliath right here, right now. But the writers have done a good job actually showing us the Archmage's character and his flaws. Vengeance is his fatal flaw, if you couldn't tell. Side note, see, this is why Owen would make such an effective villain if he ever went rogue. He would have killed all 36 gargoyles before sunset, the second he reached the island. Then he'd kill off the puny humans. There's only 3 of them. Game, set, match. There would not have been any of this get Goliath so I can have revenge nonsense. However, the Archmage does try to have Angela and Gabe killed. Boudica and Bronx jump in to save them. Good doggies. Magus and Elisa are booking it to the Hollow Hill. Magus mentions he's used to being on his own. Wait, what about Katherine? Turns out she's a cougar. That's right, she and Tom hooked up after he came of age. Wow, talk about a slap in the face. Magus gives up his magic, which was a significant part of who he was, and spends his whole life with her. And what does she do? She goes off with the kid. That is so wrong. It started so well. There, Magus is making her harp out in the apple tree orchard. And there's young Tom growing up to be good looking. Tom, you jerk. Then again, Magus is just twiddling his thumbs for at least 10 years, if not more. So, but dang, doesn't this feel like dating your sister? I guess he's desperate. No, Magus just didn't stick around for her. He felt he owed it to Goliath to raise the gargoyles. Talk about honor. He gave up his life to make up for the rash action he took while he was mad with grief. Grief for Katherine. Then again, staying in the, quote, real world wouldn't have been a walk in the park, what with Constantine hunting them. Magus is probably one of the most compelling and intriguing characters in this little episode chunk, this tier, if not for a lot of the series, honestly. His choices are very self-sacrificing, and he grows so much through the course of the show, and as well he should, since you see him when he was just a young guy, all the way up to when he's old. Elisa asks why he didn't fight for Katherine. It goes back to him not having magic. I wonder if he ever wanted her as a wife. He said they lived, quote, as innocently as children, unquote, until Tom grew up. So Magus had at least 10 years to collect his courage and make his move. Did he just keep putting it off? Or did he think it would remain like this, with everyone as friends, forever? Would he just want to have a crush on her, maybe? Perhaps it goes back to his self-imposed punishment for what he did to Goliath and the clan. Maybe he didn't think he deserved her. Magus is sad again. Go get your woman, man. When you think about Katherine during that time, you have to imagine what she was thinking. She probably got tired of waiting for Magus to do something and assumed he wasn't interested. So I don't fault her, after all. She only had 2 choices, Tom and Magus, and one of them couldn't pull the trigger. Aw, it's little puppy Boudica, and then there's baby Angela on Tom's shoulders. We need more Gargoyles puppies in our lives. This is so cute. Going back to Magus's guilt over changing the clan to stone for forever. In Magus's mind, at least, most people in the era would have shrugged it off. They would have rationalized that bad things happen, or that gargoyles are just beasts, or that they should have done more to protect the castle. Actually, the reason doesn't really matter. People of any era will do everything they can to rationalize away their guilt. Don't get me wrong. Guilt in and of itself is a detriment. However, what it's supposed to do is make you change your ways and learn from your sins. Most people don't take advantage of it like that, though. They either dodge it or wallow in it. Anyway, they make it to the Hollow Hill here, and it is indeed a very hollow hill. There's some stone gargoyles in the front. There's like armor around the edges of this circular chamber, and there's a big square block of marble. And way on top of that marble, way back there, is King Arthur. couple suits of armor in front of him there. And then, of course, they have to walk across a bridge that spans this abyss, kind of Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Well, Arthur is going to have one heck of a backache after that. He's just been lying on a slab of marble for a long time. But then maybe it's not a long time if it's Avalon here. But it's at least however long that Magus and everybody's been there. They are instantly set upon, that's Elisa and Magus, by suits of armor. Elisa shoots them, which, shockingly, does nothing. Are those iron? Magus, however, channels Avalon's magic to put them to sleep. I don't know how the Fey magic works on the iron. I don't know. Maybe because a human is using it? He speaks in a rhyme, not the Latin incantation. The magic is blue-white, like lightning. He explains that there's so much magic on Avalon that he doesn't need a conduit like the Grimorum to channel it. It's still tiring, though. Okay, so he did have magic this whole time, so what was he talking about? And you'd think he would have been using and practicing it, for however long he's been here, so that he wouldn't be so tired out with even just a little shot like that. I mean, if there's so much magic, you shouldn't be tired out. Okay? Conduit or no. And he looks pretty good while he's wielding that magic. I don't know why I didn't do this sooner, I don't know when they were getting attacked. Elisa jumps over the grotto that surrounds the sleeping king's marble bier. She says, "Arthur Pendragon, king of all Britain, you are needed." That Arthur, yes. That's all it takes. He's up. So, Arthur is on Avalon. Makes you wonder about Merlin, doesn't it? Elisa, Magus, and Arthur rendezvous with the rest of the party in the castle. Arthur is going to be their trump card against Demona and Macbeth. After all, Goliath's never actually beaten them. He's just fought them to a draw or foiled their plans. He admits this readily enough. Well, that's because you're against killing Goliath. If you let your enemies go, they come back. They're like homing pigeons. Seriously, he did beat them to the point where he could have killed them, except for the fact that they're immortal, which, yeah, you kind of can't kill them. And, by the way, neither can Arthur. Arthur, however, is the world's best warrior, according to Elisa, because she's so knowledgeable about the best warriors on Earth throughout all history. Maybe it's just me, but I never heard King Arthur's fighting prowess labeled as the world's best. He's a good warrior, sure, but his knights, swords, table, and kingdom are more notable in the stories. And does this, quote, best warrior, unquote, title mean he can fight in every type of combat, like ranged, melee, mounted, etc.? I assume so. However, it does not mean he's going to know what to do when people run up with electro pistols and laser rifles. Arthur looks heroic here, but he has no idea what's going on. No, seriously, that's actually kind of his next line. Meanwhile, the Archmage sends the Weird Sisters to kill the sleeping king. They don't realize he's not sleeping anymore. Does the scrying pool on the hill not work anymore, or what? And Archmage looks really cool here. And that is why you should use magic, so you can look cool. He's got fire in his hand, and his eyes are glowing white. I do like his design. He's got that square beard, got the Phoenix Gate on his chest, really stylish cape. The eyes on his forehead there. He's got that skull cap thing. Right back at the castle, Arthur is a bit lacking in confidence. He's without his knights, sword, and wizard. But he'll try. And there's Mother Bear Katherine. She's not taking the scrap anymore. She's down there with the doggies. Alright, good, because Macbeth and Demona are in the orchard, and they're not here to pick apples. The protags get their strategy and split up again. Tom, Gabe, and Elisa tackle Demona, literally, he jumps on her. Arthur goes down to face Macbeth in the orchard. Mac is in possession of enough faculties to recognize who Arthur is and get excited about facing, quote, the best. How did he know it was the real Arthur? And this, Arthur puts him in, literally the worst bear hug ever. He's almost, sort of, just barely got the top of Macbeth's shoulders in there. You're not stopping anything. Just put your arm up, Macbeth, and you'll slip right out. Now, unfortunately, it's not a fair fight for Macbeth, because Elisa, Tom, and Gabe are beating up on Demona nearby. You know what that means, shared pain. That's the problem using two warriors who feel each other's pain. This makes him look like a rookie after the initial electro-weapon shot. This is a real shame, because after practicing combat for 1,000 years, a person is going to be very, very good. And very dangerous. And here Macbeth is on the ground with Arthur on top of him. Halftime. We get a few revelations in this ep. First, we see that yes, indeed, Tom and Kat are an item. I doubted this at first, but now we have proof she's a cougar and Tom's a playa. Nah, being the only 3 people in Magical Island, and considering that Magus never made his move, we give them slack. You know, after the Gargs grew up, I'd have wanted to go back to the real world. Surely Constantine is gone by now. Can't remember if they knew about the time difference on Avalon. Surely Magus knows. Oh well, familiarity is comfortable, even if it is boring. And honestly, maybe I would like to stay on Avalon, because she didn't have a whole lot to go back to, even if Constantine was gone. I'd probably prefer to stay on Avalon, and it's kind of a bit like Eden there. Right, King Arthur. It takes mad writing skills to bring the legendary king into a story, yet preserve the viewer's suspension of disbelief. There's also a choice in what kind of person to make Arthur. How does he act? How does he speak? Is he the same after waking up 1,000 plus years later? I'm excited to see what happens with Arthur. And I know that it's not actually 1,000 years for him because of how time travels. But, I mean, even if... And I know it's also more than 1,000 years because, remember, Macbeth said that he was old, but not as old as Arthur. Like, he wasn't around during Arthur's time. So that's maybe, I guess, 1,400 years, possibly. But just remember that an hour of Avalon time equals 1 whole day of real time. So, anyway, it hasn't been quite that long on Avalon as in our world, but it has been some time. And again, Macbeth has had the entire 1,000 years to hone his skills. So, tune in next time for the conclusion of the Avalon Triptych. We'll finally get to see how the villains and antagonists fall. What will become of Demona and Macbeth? And what about the Weird Sisters? Everyone's fate is bound up with the Archmage. So I know there's not a whole lot to talk about on this one, but what did you think so far of their plan? How about Arthur? Like, were you surprised to see him resurrected, him brought into the mythos of the Gargoyle universe? I mean, I guess it actually fits really well with them. And what do you think about the fighting? So anyhow, you can comment here or on the blog. Remember to like, share, subscribe, do all the things. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.